Symptoms of a failing transmission. Some people call the engine the heart. Some people call the transmission the heart. Um, it's definitely one of the most complex and vital components of any vehicle. It serves as the bridge between your engine's power and the wheels, meticulously converting raw energy into controlled motion that gets you from point A to point B. Whether you're navigating urban streets or cruising the highways, your transmission works tirelessly, performing thousands of gear shifts every year. This relentless operation, however, places the transmission under immense stress from heat, friction, and fluid degrading, which can lead to gradual wear and tear over time. What begins as a minor issue, a strange sound, a faint smell, a slight hesitation, can quickly escalate into catastrophic and costly breakdowns if left undressed. Understanding this early is crucial for any vehicle owner. This definitive guide is crafted to empower you with profound understanding of your transmission, from the nuanced early warning signs that demand a discerning eye and ear of a undeniable or the undeniable alarms that necessitate immediate and professional intervention. By recognizing these signs and understanding their underlying causes, you can become an informed advocate of your vehicle's health, equipped to seek timely expert care and potentially save yourself from a singular and unexpected expense, or it just not moving anymore. Simply just not going. When you put it on the gas, it just doesn't move. You can have early whispers, the unfamiliar sounds and noises, grinding. And it depends on whether it's a manual transmission or an automatic transmission, but there's just not that many manual transmissions out there anymore that the normal public, our normal customers drive. I mean, the bulk of them are by far automatic transmissions. And with an automatic transmission, there's going to be less common to hear grinding noises when you're shifting, that kind of thing. If it occurs, it's a grave indicator that there's a problem. If the grinding of gears normally is when somebody's not engaging the clutch properly, or the clutch is not engaging properly on its own, or there's a lot of different things. The rotational speed, is not equal to the gears. All kinds of things can cause grinding in a manual transmission. Not so much in a automatic. If you are hearing grinding in an automatic, it's pointing towards internal gear damage. Broken planetary gears can be an issue with your torque converter itself. Not good on any level. That, automatic transmissions with grinding sounds, get it into the shop immediately. Preferably tow it into the shop. Whining or hubbing, that could be low transmission fluid, which leads to inadequate lubrication, increased friction. It could be all kinds of different things causing a high-pitched hum or a whine inside of the transmission. So another thing that you definitely need to get in, bottom line, you need to get anything and everything. And if your transmission making noises or smells or anything, any bumps in the night, it definitely needs to be brought in like immediately. Clunking or banging, when shifting into drive or reverse, a distinct, often forceful clunk or jolt when you put the car into drive or reverse is a significant red flag. The sensation indicates that there's excessive play or delayed engagement somewhere in the drivetrain. Could be a faulty valve body, which directs fluid pressure for gear engagement. Could be worn out transmission or motor mounts. Could be, if it's during driving, the clunking sound while driving, particularly, drive during shifts, can indicate worn out universal joints, or constant velocity joints. So it may not be the transmission itself at that point, but the longer that you're going to go clunk, 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 it's going to send those clunks back through into the transmission. So that's definitely not good. And then you've got, hesitant or unresponsive shifting, losing the rhythm of the road. If you have delayed engagement, You shift your car into drive or reverse, but instead of immediately engaging, there's a notable pause, a dead feeling before the transmission finally clunks or jerks into gear. This delay can range from a fraction of a second to several seconds. And it's normally insufficient hydraulic pressure. The valve body, a maze of fluid passages and solenoid valves, relies on consistent fluid pressure to actuate the clutch, packs, and bands. If the fluid's low, the pump is weak, or there's blockage in the filter, the necessary pressure isn't achieved promptly, leading to engagement delays. Could be hard shifting or jerking. Could be slow to engage and lagging acceleration. Could be your leaking transmission fluid, which is the lifeblood of the transmission, escaping. So you definitely need to, doesn't matter if you got something leaking out of your car, except for the water that comes from the condensation of the evaporator core for your AC, which is normal, but that's normally very clear. It's literally water. If you have any kind of colors besides water coming out of your car, and I mean not by coolant coming out, I mean literally water from the condensation of the evaporator core, you definitely need to get it in. Could be a leaking pan gasket, the fluid lines, seals, torque converter. You definitely don't want to have inadequate lubrication. You don't want to have reduced hydraulic pressure. You don't want to have overheating. You definitely don't want to have prolonged driving with low fluid, because that will lead to catastrophic transmission failure. And then you've got some blatant alarms. You're slipping gears. If you're slipping gears on an automatic transmission, it's not good. The engine's revving without acceleration, sudden loss of power, random gear changes, difficulty engaging gears. You can have worn clutch packs and bands, low transmission fluid, contaminated or burnt fluid, failing torque converter, valve body issues, TCM malfunction. You've got a transmission control module, TCM, which, could be sending incorrect commands to the transmission. Could be sensors, could be wiring, could be. I mean, the transmission is definitely, used to be just motors were controlled by computers. Now, obviously, almost everything in the car is controlled by a computer. So transmission is definitely controlled by a computer. And you definitely don't want to drive with slipping gears. It's highly dangerous, and it severely compromises your ability to accelerate, merge into traffic, maintain speed. It makes the vehicle unpredictable and a hazard on the road. Moreover, the increased friction and heat generated by the slipping will accelerate wear and quickly lead to total transmission failure. And then we have the burning smell, the odor of imminent catastrophe. So the nature of the smell of burnt transmission fluid is unique and unmistakable. It's often described as a sharp, acidic, or slightly sweet burnt petroleum odor, reminiscent of burnt toast, but I think burnt toast smells good compared to burnt transmission fluid. Definitely a lot cheaper to replace the burnt toast than it is to replace the transmission, that's for sure. It's different from the smell of a burning engine oil or electronic components. Fluid is going to burn for a lot of different reasons: overheating, low fluid level, contaminated fluid, excessive slipping, clogged transmission filter, failing transmission cooler, not replacing the transmission fluid in an appropriate time frame. I'm going to just stop right there, because that's a big one, right? Not replacing the transmission fluid when you're supposed to. So the original equipment manufacturer states that your most transmission fluid nowadays, you can get 100,000 miles out of. And a lot of them actually call it lifetime, because the lifetime of the manufacturer thinks the lifetime of most cars is anywhere from 75,000 to 100,000 miles. That's the life of the car. The automotive aftermarket thinks the life of the car is going to be as long as it doesn't rust around your ears. That's how long you should be keeping your car. So how often should you replace the transmission fluid? According to BG, Wins, Justice Brothers, all kinds of aftermarket fluid companies, you should replace the transmission fluid every other year, every 30,000 miles. And the bulk of them will give you a warranty on anything that the transmission fluid touches. Just like if it's power steering or brake fluid or anything that you're maintaining properly by the aftermarket standards with their specific fluid, then you're going to have a warranty if you change it within the time frame, which is every other year, every 30,000 miles. And it comes with thousands of dollars in warranty money on anything that their fluids are touching. So they're putting their money where their mouth is. And it's funny when you're talking about these flush companies, these fluid exchange companies. I know you're not supposed to call it flushing anymore. I mean, I could go into all of that, but you're actually, so what you're doing is you're flushing the old out and putting, with chemicals and putting new fluid in with conditioners. But you're exchanging the fluid. Well, you're doing way more than a fluid exchange if you're doing it properly. And the number one, those manufacturers sell to the original equipment manufacturer, the dealerships, more of this product than they do the aftermarket. But the dealerships don't have to worry about what you're going to say because they represent the manufacturer. So they can say whatever they want to say, and you feel like they're representing the manufacturer. The automotive aftermarket has to worry about it because when you bring in your book saying, well, that's not what the manufacturer says, well, no, it's not what the manufacturer says. The manufacturer wants you to replace the car at 75,000 or 100,000 miles. We want you to replace the car when it rusts around your ears. The number one reason in the United States of America that people don't have a good retirement is their cars. If you're buying a new car, especially every 3 to 5 years, that's where your money's at. And unless you're financially independent, that's where your money's at. And think about it. If you bought a cup of coffee every day, that turns into so many hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not even funny over the period, with compound interest and investments. Well, what do you think your car's doing with depreciation and registration fees and sales tax? I mean, it's and the finance charges and the extra insurance, the higher insurance. It's costing so much money, it's not even funny. And one of the number one reasons that people get rid of their car, because they change their oil, maybe not like they're supposed to, but they change their oil, but they don't change their transmission fluid. Well, why change the oil if you're not going to change the transmission fluid? Why change the oil if you're not going to change all of your other fluids and flush your injectors? Why are you going to change your oil if you're not going to replace your shocks and your struts and your belts and your hoses and do timing belts and battery services and alignments and rotating balances on your tires? Why are you changing your oil and trying to protect one small piece of your vehicle if you're not going to replace the transmission fluid? See, the automotive aftermarket's truly got your best interest at heart when they're recommending that stuff. But enough of the public has gone into enough automotive repair stores and freaked them out with, well, the manufacturer doesn't say that. How come you say that? And they're not able to articulate it enough, so the public has trained the normal automotive aftermarket shop to not recommend that stuff anymore and to just fix what's broke. So the manufacturer have been able to perpetuate this myth for so long that, unfortunately, it's a real travesty when it comes to people keeping their car with any longevity. And I've made it my mission at this point to make it to where you all know that. I mean, it's all about auto repair for a reason, because everybody needs to know what's in it for them, the customer, to actually maintain their car properly by time and mileage. What's in it for the shop? Well, you're paying them to do that for you. That's what's in it for them. What's in it for you is you don't have to replace your car until it rusts around your ears. So you should buy one that you like to begin with, because you're supposed to keep it. You're supposed to keep it until it rusts around your ears. And the transmission has got fluid in it. The transmission has got a filter in it. You know that you have to change your oil to protect, and the oil filter to protect your engine, but we don't think we have to get that old fluid out of the transmission, and it's inside your transmission. It's not like the oil is hanging out, the bulk of it in your oil pan at the bottom of your engine. It's the transmission fluid's in that transmission. Okay, it's in the torque converter. Most cars are taking 12, 14 quarts, and you're only going to, when you drop the transmission pan, you're only going to get like 4 quarts out of it. Well, but there's like 12 or 14 quarts in it. So it doesn't just magically drain out. You actually have to connect up to it and flush it. Fluid exchange all of it. It doesn't drain out like the oil does. It's a much more complex service, much more expensive service for a reason. Stay safe, stay strong.